Okay, so this week's Coronation Street. Finally we got to it. That was a very long introduction, but it's been a pretty special week. And we have got 5 stories to talk about this week. We have got, Gemma, the extremism storyline.
Oh, no.
That's a brilliant story. No, it's good. I felt like
bad.
The bad. Yes. We have to give this podcast may contain discussion of things that cause offence.
I was offended about the crayfish and the mussels.
I felt sad about those red squirrels being maligned.
Well,
to be honest,
I welcome grey squirrels because they bring diversity to our squirrel community.
I've seen a red squirrel now, just a couple of months ago, so now I don't feel so bad about the red squirrels, about the grey squirrels in this country. We're talking, this extremism storyline felt like it took a good 2/3 of the storyline time this week, didn't it?
Do you know what?
There's an awful lot of it. I'm not complaining, so I'm loving it.
Griff wants to get everyone on his side talking about invaders coming to our country and taking over the place. He wants to start with bloody nettles.
Yeah.
Nettles were brought over here by the Romans. We never had nettles before they brought them over. Like. And now every time I go down the allotment, I get stung by nettles and I say, what have the Romans ever done for me?
You'd be like, going, yeah, Griff, go on.
I'd be like, tell them about the nettles. They're going to lose their minds. There's not a single person in this country who has not been stung by a nettle. And we can all agree that that's a painful experience.
Yeah, and Roy would be like,
he can't argue
tell you
with
what,
that.
Gemma, you're right.
I say, exactly. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm not sure where this is going, but I agree with Griff.
Next up, we have got I'm going to put the double-crossed storyline next, because that was just ridiculously silly, and it's over now. And some people are glad it's over. I'm kind of a bit sad, but I want to talk about that one next because I enjoyed what we had of that. Next up, we have got Debbie's Debts. I can't remember what we called it before. I meant to actually try and find what we used to call it. Debbie Indebted, did we call it? She's still having money problems, everybody, and she seems to want to sell the Bistro, which I'm kind of a bit sad about. Next up, we've got the Eliza storyline. I realised halfway through writing my notes for tonight's episode I didn't have a title for the Eliza storyline, so the best I'm coming up with, Gemma.
Yeah, go on, hit me.
Right, have you read this? Have you seen what I've got?
No, I'm not looking.
You know Eliza Doolittle, yeah?
I'm looking at my phone. Go on.
You know Eliza Doolittle, yeah?
I've heard that.
This storyline is called Eliza Stew Acquittal.
No, terrible.
You'd like to see you
go
come
back,
out with
go
better
back to
than that.
Start again.
Get in my TARDIS, get back to the beginning and rewrite that storyline title. We have also got a surprisingly little amount of the Book of John this week, which kind of fizzled out on Monday's episode for the time being. And I tell you what we haven't got this week, Gemma. Tell you who did not even show her miserable little face this week.
Who?
Summer Spellman.
I know, I want to apologise to Alia earlier because when I said that she was the most boring character on Coronation Street, of course I meant to say Summer.
Oh,
but at least Summer's got a storyline at the moment. Well,
Alia's got a storyline. Yeah. She's got a new job offer.
I couldn't believe that she stole Toyah's job there. I reckon Toyah would have been.
You reckon?
What's Toyah doing with her life?
I don't know, but she did say to Spider that she does need to get a new job now, so at least she's recognising the fact that she has been kind of unemployed for quite a while at this point, but now she's just going to be wallowing on a sofa for a bit, isn't she? So I don't know when that's going to happen. Yeah, no, Alia and Didi, we'll talk about that one later. So, the extremism storyline, we start off, if you remember last week, we had that naughty little spider splashing red paint all over Speed Doll's doors, and Monday's episode opens with Stu, Yasmeen and Alia discovering the vandalism there. Who on earth could have done this? What does this world come to, says Yasmeen.
Disgusting.
We know it's Spider, and he only did it because his friend made him do it.
How would you feel if that happened to you? You'd be devastated. All those years they've lived in the street, and then all of a sudden to think maybe somebody's been living here this whole time who hates us.
I know, it sucks. It's rubbish. It was. I'm definitely very much enjoying this storyline, and some bits haven't hit as hard as I think at the Coronation Street wanted them to, but I'm still like, this is the best thing that's happening.
It's a very compelling story, yeah.
So I'm glad it's taken up all this time. So then we see Max seeing Darian in the street later, and Max is like cock of the walk, isn't he, for parts of this week? He's getting right into the groove of being the bully after the old the Godfather impression last week when he was like, hey, you apologise to my girlfriend, and so he's acting
the Godfather.
Yeah. I imagine that's what happened in The Godfather.
We watched that film.
We watched it once a very long time ago. I don't rate it.
It was boring.
I'm not going to lie. Thought it was very dull.
Sorry, people that think Godfather's the best film ever. I'm sad that you haven't seen good films. I've had this discussion with other people.
Godfather Part 2 is better? I thought that was even worse.
I think no, I can't get behind it. There's hardly any female characters in it, and they don't do anything. So if you like The Godfather, you're a sexist. How about that?
I just don't like that kind of film. Anyway, Max is the Godfather. Everybody. Anyway,
this is why we don't do a film podcast. So, obviously, I'm joking. You can like whatever films you like, but it's still boring.
Darian is not in the slightest bit intimidated, or at least he's not acting intimidated by Max acting all big man to him. And he's like, "Have you heard yourself? What you like, Max? Come on now."
Yep.
Meanwhile, we have Toyah and Spider who hear about this paint in the cafe. What?
Spider's like, maybe whoever done it was just trying to like cheer up the place.
Trying to give it a new fresh lick of paint. I know that it got redecorated earlier this year.
Have you noticed that?
Who likes pink and teal, honestly?
Actually, it was organic paint, so I think it's fine.
It'll wash right off, it's fine, I'm sure. Also, I have heard.
I read the late...
Toyah kind of gives Spider a look to suggest that she thinks that the way he reacts to it is a bit weird, because it's kind of suggested... You know, as you obviously would, that this was a racist attack, and Spider's like, I don't jump to conclusions, guys. It might not be. It might just be people who prefer a pizza or something.
What?
And she's like, that's weird, Spider, to say that, or whatever it was you said. I'm going to be a bit suspicious of you this week.
I'm going to squint at you a few times.
Over in Speed Dial, they're still trying to figure out who it could have been. What about Max, perhaps? He's been acting a bit dodgy recently. And Yasmeen's getting worried that if the police get wind of us, it's going to harm their chances of getting Eliza to go and stay with them. And Alia says, what good ever came of involving the police?
No, don't do it.
We're a bunch of vigilantes here in Weatherfield. Why wouldn't you be if you got Craig as your number one officer to call out? Let's be fair.
She's like, I'm going
to take matters into my own
hands. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go around and I'm going to accuse everybody who lives around here individually.
Oh my gosh, you did.
Until I get to the bottom of this.
Ollie was so annoying.
And I'll know whether they did it by the look on their face.
At times, I was like, yeah, go Alia. But a lot of Monday, I was thinking, just...
Shut up.
Just stop
it. She's actually really grown on me this She
has. I really hope that this new changing careers for her is going to be the making of Alia.
I think she's going to wind me up.
Yeah, she did wind me up a little bit on Monday, I have to be fair. Anyway, she's off to go and sort this problem out herself. We also see, because there's so many characters involved in this, then we cut to Griff and Lauren that are driving past Max on the street and say, look, do you want us to give you a lift to school in the van? So he hops in there, and this is when Alia strides up to them and accuses them of vandalism. And Griff says, look, leave us alone. Stop accusing people like that in the street. You and your little migrant mate, leave us alone. You speak English, don't you? He was
God.
Makes my blood boil, Griff. It really does. I can't remember what the actor's name is. I know it's Michael something, of course. I would remember that.
Kane.
But
very famous.
That's where I remember seeing him.
Yeah.
But I can't
only
remember.
gone and blown the bloody doors off.
You've only gone and painted the doors bloody red. You're supposed to paint the whole inside of it. Sorry, Michael Caine.
Calm down.
It was locked.
Okay.
I heard that Yasmeen and Stu were snogging inside. I didn't want to go in and disturb them. Anyway, so Toyah goes over to Speed Dial to go and off to help out and everything. Alia comes back. She's not impressed to see Toyah there. And that was another thing that kind of got my goat about Alia this week. She still hasn't quite forgiven Toyah for driving into a wall and killing Imran, her friend.
She was really rude.
Get over it, Alia. Toyah clearly has.
It's my husband. I can kill him if I want to. Mind your own business.
She although she does give the very sick burn of you learned which pedal's which on a car yet, which I thought was Toyah earned that one. She deserved that. There is no more
to that story than what we saw.
No. So Alia says, anyway, now I think it was Griff who was the one what did the paint job here. And Toyah's like, yes, it was definitely him. Peter's told me that Griff and his gang are as racist as they come. And this is exactly the sort of thing.
They had a song with very sinister lyrics.
Do. Sinister lyrics, exactly. And I've heard all about these.
They've been driving around in a white van. Coincidence?
Exactly. Next on Alia's hit list
I don't know if it was
David.
White. I assume it was.
I think it is. David in the Rovers. She goes and has a moan to him about not dealing with Max. Now, I moaned about David on the podcast last week about him not dealing with Max, so it was nice to see him step up to the plate a little bit more this week. So yeah, I was kind of on Alia's side here. Now, luckily, for storyline purposes, Griff and his gang are there in the booth, aren't they? Having a milk stout or whatever is their tipple, and they get out and they kind of act all intimidating to her.
She stands up to it.
She does. She does a fairly decent job of standing up to them and all these racist comments. She doesn't seem scared of them. I was really proud of her. Yeah, no, they're just kind of laughing in her face. But yeah, she stands her ground. Good for her. I don't think that they came across as being as intimidating as I would have liked for them to have portrayed them. But anyway, yeah, it was definitely good on Alia for standing up to them then. And David kind of at that point, and that once that Alia has kind of softened them up a bit, David says, "Oh yeah, and stay away from Max too." Well done, David.
Was that when Toyah was there as well?
I don't think so. She might have been. Oh yes, she was. Yeah, she was there with Alia saying,
going, "Come on, leave it. Just leave
it, mate. Leave it out.
Leave it out. Get out of our pub."
Spider meets up with Griff in his favourite haunt, Villain's Alley, later on, and it's not the last time we saw them there this week. And Griff says, "Look, everyone in Speed Dial is intent on causing problems here. An intelligent person would have taken the hint when we chuck paint over the doors, but they're not that intelligent, are they? Not their fault, English being their second language and all."
What language is paint throwing?
Yeah, I don't know. He reckons that they need a bigger hint and asks Spider if he's in. And Spider this week is like, he just has to go along with everything that Griff suggests. He's in it deep, isn't he, Spider, this week? It's like he's trying to crawl out of the bath and he just can't.
Oh, spider in the bar, spider in the bar. I got kind of annoyed at him in a later scene, but I guess we'll get to it. Okay. But I think they had to put it in there for some viewers. No, but I think some viewers need, to be reminded that he's actually not racist.
Yeah.
But, I kind of was on board with it. The fact that he wasn't. I didn't need a scene of him going, "Oh, do you know what? I actually really don't like racism anymore."
So, Yasmeen...
It was alright when it was just songs.
Yasmeen finds out what Alia did at the pub, and she's like, "I can't believe that you were standing up to these guys, you nutcase. You do need to be careful with yourself."
Thank goodness Toyah... Up.
Yeah, could have done. Right in front of Glenda. Thank goodness Toyah was there to drag you away. And Alia is still pretty annoyed about Toyah being back in the scene and saying, "Oh yeah, well, she and Spider, they're all bosom buddies with Griff and his gang." And Toyah was saying, "No, Griff is no friend of ours, actually. Thank you very much." This is where we have the weird Stu scene, actually, and it's not actually in this story, is it? But I might forget about it otherwise. This is where he comes down the stairs and he does his drum roll.
That was so annoying.
So we did. Gemma did do a good tweet about this. He comes down the stairs and he's like,
"No, he comes in. He comes in from
he comes downstairs in Speed Dial, and he's
like,
"Oh
yeah, sorry, yeah.
All right, Yasmeen, do a drum roll, please." And Yasmeen's like, "Dubba." And Alia says, "How was the flat?" And he's like,
"Oh, fine.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
Anyway, got a dash."
And he's like, "So is that the drum roll, Stu, to tell us about your flat, or
what were you doing a drum roll for?"
That was weird.
And also, Alia, shut up. If somebody does a drum roll and is about to make an announcement, don't interrupt them to ask them stupid questions about real estate.
Yeah, she knocked him off the flow, didn't she?
She totally did. Carol, can you imagine her at your birthday party? She blows out the candles for you. Sorry, I just don't like it messy in here. I don't like messy candles.
Yeah, you're right. With what you said earlier about Monday feeling a bit off, I definitely did as well. And I saw some people that absolutely loved Monday's episode of Corrie. I thought that Wednesdays and Fridays were pretty fab. Yeah. But Mondays just left me with a funny taste in my mouth, actually. And it was the little moments like this and the confrontations not feeling as confrontational as they needed to be.
Felt a bit disjointed.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but it didn't ruin the week for me, really. Anyway... So he's like, yeah, the flat's all peachy. David and Shona are starting to wonder where Max is. They're getting more and more suspicious about who he is hanging around with at the moment. And what do you know? They're over at Griff's flat. Max is getting his flyers out.
Abusing the word flyer all
I was
week.
going to say, yeah. He calls everything a flyer. There were definitely posters among those flyers, weren't there? So this talk that Griff's doing at the community centre, we were wondering on last Friday's episode what the talk was going to be about. And yes,
Crayfish.
it is a environmental talk with little hints of racism in there when we get to it. But Max doesn't know. Max doesn't know that second part of it, and he's got his nice posters with the Earth on and everything, and he's posted it all over social media. And Griff's like, "Thank goodness we got you, Max, because I wouldn't know what to do." Or more likely, "Oh, you didn't bloody put it on Twitter, Max, because that was a waste of 30 seconds. That's going to be closed down in a couple of days' time if you believe
Max
the rumours."
is like, "Good news! I've got us a blue tick."
Yeah. At Griff the racist. Official grey tick.
Official Griff racist.
Anyway, Griff's well chuffed with him, and he starts banging on about this speed dial lot again in his ears. And he's like, "Oh, they make my blood boil." And Spider is there in the background looking very uncomfortable. This was the other thing about Monday's episode. I think there was a little bit too much of Spider just hanging around in the background looking a bit awkward and like, "Oh, should I say something? No, I can't really because this is my job."
I think Coronation Street is really stuck with Spider, trying to make him too much of a nice guy for the situation he's found himself in.
Go on, how do you
Well,
mean?
because this bit now, he just goes up to Max later when nobody's around. He's like, "Oh, you shouldn't be hanging around here. You should go do cool things. Don't hang around with Griff. You should find your own tribe."
So what would you have preferred him to do?
Just look, don't say anything. Don't say anything to anybody. You're there. You're not there to make friends or to rescue people or to stop people from falling into being a racist. You're there to collect evidence.
Yeah, he's the fly on the wall, which is probably quite a conflict for
he
someone with the name of Spider.
It feels like he doesn't believe in his mission.
No,
and I know why they've done it. I just think it's a real big mistake.
I don't think it's a big mistake.
I do, because I don't find him convincing at all now. I don't understand what he thinks he's doing.
Oh, poor Spider.
No, I just think he needs to have the courage of his convictions. He's there to... I know this whole week, though, was us being told by Coronation Street, don't forget Spider's a good guy. Don't think he's evil. He's still all the spy that you always knew and loved.
He's really guilty about this, we promise.
And then next week he's going to get up to goodness knows what.
Yeah.
I guess, but I just found this unnecessary.
Okay, yeah, so you're right. He tries to convince Max to leave, doesn't he? And Max ends up telling Griff about this, which obviously gets Griff fairly annoyed and tells Reese, "Look, you need to keep an eye on Spider. I think that he might be turning." So Max brings the flyers to the cafe, says, "Roy, can you put a poster up?" Roy's like, "Oh, this looks like a very interesting talk. Maybe I'll go in some scenes there." And and he gives them to Fizz and Tyrone as well too. I don't remember why.
They were like, "I don't care about the environment."
No. Then we have the final scene of the episode, which was Darian getting confronted by Griff and the gang, including Spider, and they're there with their black suits. They've got their balaclavas on, haven't they, with their little slits. Spider's slit was a little bit wide.
Can't believe that they made that speed dial door only open one way.
So he
comes out and he can't get back in again. He's
Oh no, this was when Yasmeen and Stu were having a bit of a snog downstairs, weren't they?
Were they? Is that why you didn't go back in?
Monday's episode.
You'd rather get beaten to death than watch two old people kiss.
Yeah. Well, they back him into Victoria Gardens, and unfortunately, there wasn't anybody having a little private conversation in there for a change. Usually, if you go into Victoria Gardens, you're going to find somebody like Aggie or Tim
trying to have an affair.
Having a moment.
Do you mind?
But it was empty. And so they're vile to him. They make fun of him. They say, go back to your own country, etc. They punch him, and he ends up staggering out. And the final shot is a quite good one of him running towards the camera down Victoria Street with them kind of laughing behind him.
And he's obviously just a poor little lad.
Yeah. And then we get to find out
how many men were there, like...
Yeah, there was, six of them or so? Yeah.
Full-grown men in balaclavas trying to rough him up. Pathetic.
Yeah, although I would also say that scene is one of the ones that I didn't think had as much impact on me as I think it could have done. Now, we've seen Coronation Street do intimidating gangs very well very recently. We think back to the attack on Seb a year and a half or so ago. That was done brilliantly. That was, heart in your mouth sort of stuff. And this, it didn't hit me in the same way, and I don't know what it was particularly.
Well, I guess it's like, number one, it can be quite triggering, and it's not necessary to be so full on with it. And number two, the purpose of the scene wasn't necessarily to freak you out and make you scared that Darian was going to get beaten.
I think it should have been, and I don't think it matters about the triggeringness of it.
Well,
because because Coronation Street puts the warnings out. There's lots of stuff in Corrie that's triggering. I think that they could have done a better job.
The plot line was more important than all we had to do is establish that there was a bunch of men trying to beat Darian up, and one of them was Spider. That was the purpose of the scene.
Yeah.
The purpose of the scene wasn't horrible. You know what I mean?
Let's
I'm
harrow
sure
those
that's going to come.
Monday night viewers.
That's going to come.
I think it is. I think it's definitely going to come.
And I think they want to upstage themselves.
I also have to
build
say,
up to it.
I'm not saying, God, why was Darian scared? They weren't scary. If I was in his position, I'd be cacking my pants.
He's very brave, really, considering.
Yeah, he really, really was. It would have been absolutely terrifying. But from a dramatic point of view, as a viewer's point of view, don't think it worked quite so well.
He's like, well, this is life for me.
Yeah, basically is. And then we get to Wednesday's episode. If you're not a Darian sympathiser, if you're not a Darian fan after watching Wednesday's episode, your heart is made of stone.
I don't think your heart is made of stone. I think you might just be a racist if you don't have sympathy for him.
So he goes round to see Maria on Wednesday's episode, and because he's got his statement for the Home Office, which is him trying to convince them to let him stay in the country for good, and they immediately clock his bruised face from where he was punched the night before, and he says, he was mugged. He doesn't really want to go into it. Meanwhile, you got Griff and Spider. Griff is telling Spider, you didn't do much beating up or racist stuff with us guys last night. What's wrong with you? Are you one of us or not? So Spider, obviously, although it's his job to infiltrate this group, I don't know what the rules are when you're an undercover cop.
I was about to look it up, and then I thought, is there any point in looking up what the real rules are? Because Weatherfield does not exist in our universe.
You're probably not allowed to do actual crimes.
I think you are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you are. I think you can do what you like.
Oh, wow.
I think you can do all sorts. I think you can be like, I don't like the king.
You got
things like that.
Is it like you got diplomatic immunity as an undercover cop?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And when the national anthem comes on, you can go, which, as we all know, is illegal.
I think Spider strikes me as the sort that would do that anyway. To be fair, anyway, although the Queen is now his. Oh, sorry, the King is now his boss, isn't he?
The King's his boss, and he's also an environmentalist.
Yes, that's true. Actually, he's probably
he loves. He should love it.
He's going to be waving his flag at the coronation.
His car runs on cheese and wine. He's the most environmentally friendly and monarch we've had since we invented electricity.
Anyway. So Griff is saying to Spider, you need to step up. Either you're with us or you're against us, because and you know what you said to Max yesterday. You need to show whose side you're on, Mister. So Spider's like, well, I just didn't want to be needlessly arrested again. I didn't think I needed to step in there. Max kind of breaks things up then, because he comes round and he's clearly not been put off by all this. He wants to go fly her in, and Griff just kind of ends the scene being very suspicious of Spider. This is when we hear Darian's heartbreaking story, which he's reading out to Maria and Gary, and all three of them in this scene were fab. I mean, I can't remember the name of the actor who plays Darian, but he, for somebody who came into the show a couple of months ago, was it, and he was, just the refugee that was sitting with Maria, and I think, what's he doing there for a scene or so? But he was a fab casting. He was really, really great performance on this, and he's and great words by Ian Kershaw as well. It was really his script on Wednesday, very, very good. And it
was such a simply written account of his experience in travelling from his home country,
which they still didn't say what it was, did they?
Through Europe, to get to France, to get on the ferry across.
Yeah, get separated from his brother. And he talks about, every day I'm worried about being about deported. I don't know where my family is. I just want to work hard and stay safe in the UK. And he's like really struggling to hold it together as he says this devastating story to Gary and Maria. And who both of them, they're just kind of very, very sobered by the whole thing, and they kind of realise you just can't.
What can you say to someone like that? What can
you say? Someone
you can have whatever political opinions you want about people who choose to seek asylum in this country after going through other countries to come here, and you can have whatever opinions you want, but I can't see how you can look at somebody in their face and listen to them tell you what they've gone through and not feel sympathetic.
It does make you reflect on your own life and think,
we're so lucky.
Not been so bad.
No, I've never take it for granted. Every time hot water comes out the tap, every time the light comes on, every time I've got somewhere safe to sleep at night, I just appreciate it so much. We're so lucky. We're so lucky.
Yeah, but I really, really hope that we get a reunion with Darian and his brother at the end of this story. That's just gonna even stone-hearted Michael.
This nearly made me cry actually when he was reading this out.
He was so good.
He said specifically the reason that he came to England was because his uncle was here, and I'm not sure what happened.
Did he? I missed that bit.
Well, he had to. The thing is, everyone will say, "Oh, you went through safe countries to get here. You should have stopped at the first safe country and sought asylum there." But he has a reason. Many people have a reason, and his reason was that it's not up to us to judge anyway.
He wants to come and watch Coronation Street.
He's like, I can't get Coronation Street in France. So anyway, he wants to reunite with his uncle, but I don't know where his uncle is now.
Yeah, I did miss bits on the notes here because this was one of those scenes that it's like,
just
I need to watch this. So much of
enthralling.
Coronation Street, my eyes aren't on the screen because I'm busy tapping away on my Mac trying to get my notes down. But this was one of these scenes where I just stopped and watched it and then was like, okay, what do I remember from that? And then move on. But it was very, very good.
Gary and Maria are both just can't believe it what they're listening to.
What I'm finding very interesting, and I don't know whether anyone else has noticed this, is that Coronation Street social media isn't like playing clips of this. The YouTube channel of Coronation Street doesn't have any, I think, scenes from this storyline. The picture previews that go out every week don't have previews from this story. It's almost like it doesn't exist, but which kind of contradicts with the fact that it's actually their biggest story going on at the moment.
It's very interesting. I wonder if it's because they are very aware of the sort of comments that would congregate.
Maybe, but then I think, well, I don't know. I can't remember whether Coronation Street even allows comments on its YouTube videos.
Well, I don't think they do.
It's just very, very... I mean, the number of clips that Corrie has been putting on YouTube after each episode is really low at the moment. It's like they put 2 clips up for every episode, and it used to be 4, 5, 6. I don't know whether I'm making that up. I'm sure it used to be more. But yeah, I'm finding it very peculiar how little there is on the official channels. So if you want to go back and watch this scene again... well, you can't do it. You can't do it through the official channel. You just have to get the ITVX now that that's launch day, but you don't have to sit through the adverts if you pay for the premium subscription. Anyway,
I think there've been so many vile comments already on social media about the storyline. I don't think they need to sort of go, here you go, here's your area to discuss what you think about.
But Gemma, hashtag speak and save. What I'm saying. Anyway, Toyah goes into the cafe. She hears about the attack the previous night, and she immediately says, well, it's clearly Griff and everybody, and Spider's there, looking very awkward, of course, because he was there as well. Nazir's tried to convince Darian to go along to the police, but he's not too sure about it. We then cut to Max, who's putting up his posters / flyers outside a speed dial when Alia comes stomping out and has a massive go at him, saying, you heard what happened here last night. Darian got beat up. It was your mates. And Max says, no, it wouldn't have been Griff. He wouldn't have done that. You got any proof? And Alia's like, just wake up. It was clearly him. They're the only racists in Weatherfield that we know, so it was clearly him that did this. And Max, you are hanging around with a bunch of violent thugs. Smell the coffee, mister. Right. Next up, we have got the talk. Community Centre. Yes, we have got the Community Centre back in the show for the first time. Now. First time since Frida Gate. And this scene was just as good. Yeah, I loved it. So, Roy's there. Brian was there. Was Paul there, I think? I've written that in the note.
Paul was there.
Why did Paul go? I don't really know.
Because anyway, I know where he went, because last week I accused him of being possibly susceptible to racist rhetoric, and he went this week to prove that he was immune to it.
Okay.
That was it. He had to defend himself from my vile accusations.
It's not to like save the unicorns or anything like that, which we know that Paul's a big fan of. I think that we used to have unicorns native to this country, but the invading horses kicked them out.
Disgusting.
Yeah. Anyway,
Took their resources.
They're there. Maria's there. Max is there, filming it with his camera, and then Griff's giving this speech, and it starts off. I thought this was quite clever with how this was done, because it's all about these invasive species, isn't it? He says, "Oh yeah, our crops are being destroyed, animals' homes, and there are definitely some kind of racist overtone. Is it overtones or undertones? What is it?
What's the question?
When it's subtle." Undertones. I've written overtones, so that's right. Yeah, there's definitely some racist undertones there, because he's kind of talking about these invading non-indigenous species like the signal crayfish versus our native white-clawed crayfish. Now, Gemma.
Yeah.
I like the signal crayfish, but I also like the native white-clawed crayfish.
Well,
but which one is better?
What are you do about it?
There's only one way to find out. You know,
Lots
listeners.
of people don't know what you mean.
Well, go and Google Harry Hill. He's very funny. So we hear about the quagga mussel, which are threatening our water supplies.
Is that
apparently.
why we had a drought?
Yeah, it was
is that why I couldn't water my dahlias?
Yeah.
I
you believe Griff? And Roy's there, and he's going. You see, he unclips his bag, takes out a a notepad, and we're like, oh, Roy's on the case. He's going to take him down. He is not convinced by Griff's tale. And then Griff kind of, the undertones definitely become overtones.
This was bizarre, honestly.
He switches gears at this point, and he starts to talk about the NHS, and he's saying, oh yeah, he talks about how it's being swamped by all these health tourists, and he says, you can't just pick up a phone and book an appointment anymore, you know.
And Dr. Gaddis is like, well, I was with you up until that point, now you can get bent.
I
think you'll find that the Weatherfield Health Clinic, or whatever we call ourselves,
we offer immediate appointments, actually.
We've got the best rated health service in the entire country. It's not our fault people keep dying
here. I missed that comment about picking up the phone the first time we watched it, or I heard it and then I didn't write it down. I can't remember. This was another one of those scenes that I just I wanted to watch. I was so into it, and but somebody on Facebook pointed it out later and said that it was quite ironic that yes, in Weatherfield it is incredibly easy to get an NHS health appointment the very same day. But anyway, everyone else there is nodding, so maybe they're from out of town. They use they're taking our jobs.
I think Dr. Gaddis is actually running some kind of sinister Nazi health experiment on the residents of Weatherfield, and they don't realise, and that's why she's happy to see them.
Slander, Gemma.
That's why she's so happy. She's got time to see everybody.
The audience in the community centre are kind of looking a little bit...
They start going, hang on.
Yeah, but I thought we came to an environmental talk. But then you got Griff's mates there as well, haven't you? That kind of stands in there around the outside, arms folded and everything. They go, yeah, go on, Griff. Yeah, you tell him. And then... This is when Maria pipes up and starts heckling him, and she's like, "What are you talking about? This is supposed to be about the environment." Or I can't remember what she said, but she was very, very good in that scene. Actually, he fights back at her and says, "Oh yeah, Councillor Connor, you're talking about I can't remember what."
Well, he's like, "Oh, you're so happy to sit there and take our money, but you're not doing anything about it."
Oh yeah, because she's
yourself extra money. She says, actually, I don't get paid for this. And then he says, oh, you just got a 20% increase in your council allowance.
Yeah.
You just sit around inviting migrants into our country and into our community.
That's right. And she's like, migrants, you mean people?
Flooding our community with people who are going to take our hospital appointments.
And she says, you're a racist, and I am just standing up.
No,
he says, I'm just standing up for the people of our country. And this is when everyone's like, yeah, Griff. And Maria says, is that Griff? And I was
we had to rewind that about 5 times to hear what she said.
Anyway, so Maria did a fab job there, and also Griff did a very good job of arguing back to her. It kind of changed then when he's up against Roy, which is the next scene, because once the applause dies down, Roy stands up in his chair.
I've had a few checks on my phone. I've actually look on Wikipedia.
Roy don't need no phone. He's got it all in his head. He's like, technically, you're not right. What you're saying is factually incorrect.
Oh,
he's like,
God.
It's on.
I tell you what, if Roy told me I was technically not right, I think I would just disappear in a puff of smoke.
I'd collapse into a sinkhole. Roy says, well, actually, the grey squirrel and that could be seen as invaders, but this invading crayfish could never be a threat to our water supply. And
I'd say any creature that's delicious, let them in.
Yeah, just eat them. If that's
the argument falls down though here, because I say let in all the animals that are delicious, but you can't eat immigrants, can you?
You cannot eat immigrants.
It's not allowed. So
you can't use the same technique against them.
You can't argue about that.
I don't know whether you can eat these particular crayfish, but
I tried to look it up. Apparently, the quagga mussel not very delicious.
Oh well, no wonder.
So I say get rid of them.
He says, look, anyway, the Environmental Agency are well prepared for these creatures because we've had invading species before. I think he said the zebra mussel or something like that.
Yeah, zebra mussel.
And then he turns on Griff's stance on Asians and saying, what you're painting all these Asians with the same brush. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Literally, all you need to do is stand up and go, I've got a point that you might not have thought about. Asian people aren't crayfish.
Yeah, basically.
Okay? And then everyone could have done that and then we could have all gone home.
And he says, and also, he points out that a good proportion of the NHS is made up of Asian doctors and nurses. Griff's response here was not...
Well, he was like, oh yeah, well, crayfish get in the taps and that. And he's like, no, they don't. What do you mean? When was the last time you flushed a toilet and a crayfish came out?
Oh, bite you on the bum.
Ooh.
Clip you on the...
Don't flush the toilet while you're on it. What are you doing?
Yeah, so this... I didn't like this so much because I know it's like you can't stand up against Roy Cropper, but Griff up to this point has shown he's been very good at, firing back at people. He's always got the right thing to say, like he did with Maria, but he just kind of crumbled in the face of Roy. Griff did.
Griff. And because he doesn't have an argument.
Although... Oh no, he didn't, but he came across as just kind of like, oh yeah, sorry, they could get in the taps, and I don't know, maybe it was just the way the line was delivered, but he came across a lot more pathetic. I think Griff would have wanted to.
Yeah, I know, but I think you'll find a lot of these people, if you start asking them specific questions about what they actually think is going on, they start to sound exactly like Griff did.
I don't know.
Don't actually have any arguments. I just thought it sounded cool to liken people to invading
I've never been to
marine...
anywhere like this before, Gemma.
Well, I go to them every week.
No.
Obviously.
Anyway, the meeting's over.
I just thought one thing I will say about this is that I found Griff's speech quite unconvincing, and it found it a bit weird how he's kind of launched suddenly into the NHS.
I did as well.
But I thought about it for a long time, and I was thinking it's kind of winding me up, and then I had an epiphany today, and I was like, Coronation Street doesn't want to write a convincing racist speech because some people actually listen to stupid things like that, and they don't want to turn people onto weird arguments.
Yeah.
If Coronation Street had something that was actually quite compelling and made sense, I think they would get a lot of stick, rightfully so, for spreading racist propaganda on television.
Yeah.
Because Griff's argument was very muddled. I think you could tease something out of it that you could... Like, say if you were in a debate club and you had to argue this, you could probably do a pretty better job than Griff did.
I did think it was very clever how it was kind of subtle at the beginning, but you're right, when in that second scene he just went full on, well, while I've got you here, those Asians, eh?
I thought it was a bit weird.
Why would he want to do... Is it because now we, the viewer, know that he's a racist, it's fine for everyone to know he's racist? Because he's basically just publicly outed himself.
Yeah,
whereas before, he's been in the show since, August or so? And he's not been, singing, he's not been chanting out in the street that he's racist. So why now? Just because we know.
I also thought
because he's got Max on his side. Go on, what were you saying?
I also thought it was a bit weird that they went with the argument, like likening invading species to immigrants, which is very disgusting imagery. And
it was, but I thought that worked.
No, it did work, but I guess they had to make him sound more gross. But the stuff I was looking up the other week about what right-wing fascism and environmentalism, actually it's more just to do with keeping the land pure and I don't know. I thought that there were other arguments that have been used already, especially by I keep saying Nazis because they were the most famous environmental fascists. But they had, they were racist and they were environmentalists, and there's probably lots of arguments. But again, I don't think Coronation Street particularly wants to make Griff seem convincing.
No, you're right. So he definitely kind of fell flat on his face, and he was a bit embarrassed by it all once everybody left.
What I'm worried about is I don't want Griff to seem I want Griff to seem plausible, because I think that people might be tricked into thinking that people like Griff don't exist because his argument doesn't make sense. And actually, I think it's important for us all to know what people like Griff are saying and what they think. Because if you ever get challenged by it, or you ever come across this rhetoric, you'll be able to challenge it in a more educated way if you're prepared for it. If you wouldn't really necessarily know what to say. Nobody else knew what to say. Roy was the only person who stood up and actually went through what he said and told him he was wrong. Maria recognised that he was wrong, but she couldn't actually tell him why. She just called him a racist and left. Whereas Roy actually went, actually, you're wrong because X, Y, Z.
Yeah, well, if I ever hear anything like that, I will tell them technically or factually incorrect, and that'll show them. Right, anyway, so the meeting's over. They're all outside. And Griff is telling Max and the gang that, Roy's just been listening to this whole woke media, don't pay any attention to him. But oh no, Officer Craigie comes down the road and he's like, I'm going to take you down to the station for questioning. And Griff's like, right, Max, you got to film this. You watch, we're being arrested. We've not done anything wrong.
Oh, what's wrong?
I was just exercising my right to free speech. And Craig says, actually, this has nothing to do with that meeting.
What?
This is in regards to an assault that took place here last night. Gang's starting to look worried.
I tell you what, poker faces they do not have.
No. The Griff says, oh, well, yeah, someone must have just been mouthing off then. And Max wonders, is Alia dobbed them in? So he storms over to speed dial to blame her. And Darian then steps in and says, actually, it was me. And Max says, you bloody idiot, what have you done? This attack was nothing to do with Griff last night. But Darian is insistent. He says, well, their faces were covered, but I knew that it was him.
Wouldn't you know? I'm sorry, but you would know. Why are we all pretending that human beings can only recognise each other by our noses and our mouths?
I've kind of lost track of how much contact Darian has had with that lot before.
I think if somebody came up to me in my face and started having a go at me, and then came up to me in my face and started having a go at me with a mask on, a few hours later, I'd be able to say, I think that's the same guy.
Maybe. Anyway,
do you not think so? You can recognise somebody from behind
it was
just by watching them walk, can't you?
Well, I didn't recognise that Millie Gibson when she was coming out of the TARDIS.
No, you couldn't see what was going on at all.
Anyway, but I'd recognise her if she had a balaclava and an eye slick, so I'd see the eyebrow, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
That's the giveaway there, Millie Gibson. You can't be doing
hide yourself.
Can't be doing any naughty business.
You got to get one of those eyebrow mascaras.
And
then Michael won't be able to recognise you.
Anyway.
Obviously, she still listens to the podcast.
Of course she does. She's
Everyone's
got nothing
got
else
3
going
hours
on
to
tonight.
spend on this.
Darian's like, no, it was definitely him. I knew it. So Maria goes along to the cafe with Roy, and they all kind of reflect on what happened at the speech. Toyah and David are there as well. They didn't come along to the speech for some reason. Maria says, look, why don't we make the community centre a sort of place that Griff wouldn't want to go to?
Fill it with grey squirrels.
Reclaim it as a place for good. Make it a resource centre for immigrants. It sounds like a very nice idea and everything, but maybe a bit of a, he came there for one meeting and now we're changing the whole purpose of it.
I don't think in reality he would keep coming back to make his speech again. I think he's already spoken to everybody round.
Well, not if Roy works and lives 1-2 doors
Roy
down
will
the
just
street.
come to every meeting and start heckling you about your incorrect facts about zebra mussels.
Yeah, what is weird about the community centre? Yeah, like you said earlier, is it's privately owned. We don't know who this is, and now Maria is making these grand plans for changing it with without the owner of it.
Well, I also like the way
involved.
that like one racist meeting happens there, and Maria's like, we must sanctify this ground. It's been made unholy.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Well, sorry, Maria, we've got to make way for the mummy's yoga class and the finger painting.
Yeah.
Oh no, racist finger painting.
Anyway, nothing else particularly happens with that.
Well, I'm assuming that we're going to have a scene. One scene with Maria handing out leaflets, which she'll call flyers, about immigrant help, and Darren will be there, and then maybe his brother will come in.
I hope so.
Going, I heard that this is a great place.
So, Max invites Lauren back to number 8 later, and she thinks it's time for another spot of Rumpy Pumpy upstairs, but he wants to talk about her dad and Griff. And she looks at her phone and she sees a load of messages about him being taken in by the police. Not quite sure why she hadn't seen those messages beforehand, but never mind. She tries to phone up somebody about to find out what happened, and she finds out that her dad's been taken into the police station, but nobody seems to know why. And Max says, well, there was this attack that happened last night on Darian, and Lauren says, no way would my dad do this. He's no way. He's not violent. And Max isn't too sure about this, but Lauren says, no, absolutely not. And I can't have my dad sent to prison for something he hasn't done. And Max is like, don't worry. We're going to sort this. And Max is kind of flip-flopping all the week this week, isn't he? Like, every now and then I'm seeing that he's... he kind of a light bulb kind of goes off in his head to go, hang on a minute, these guys are pretty nasty. And part of me thinks, yes, Max, well done, you've noticed. And then another half of me thinks, no, I don't want Max to realise yet. I want him to stay in this gang. Because the longer he stays in this gang, the longer the story's going to be. Hopefully, the darker and more harrowing, for lack of a better word, it's going to get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't want him to clock yet, but it's starting to get a little bit weird. That he keeps going, oh no, I'm sure that they're not racist. Really, it's fine.
The longer he questions it and puts off going, yeah, the more complicit I think he is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, honestly,
he's making the choices when he's faced
he's
with an awful lot of compelling evidence.
He's been told by about 5 different people now, and he's like, nah.
But they're his mates. He's got a nice photo with them on Halloween. Anyway, so later on, Spider bumps into Griff, and Griff tells him about this arrest. He's been let out, obviously, by this point. Somebody's dobbed him in, but never mind. Max is giving me an alibi, so Max has now decided to tell the police that the racists couldn't possibly have done it because they were with me last night.
We were eating crayfish.
Yes.
That crayfish and avocado salad.
Was it an invasive, non-indigenous crayfish, though? Or was it a good old British crayfish?
I don't know. Oh, I don't know.
You have to check the packet.
Write in and ask.
He says, Max is giving him an alibi, and he says, yeah, Max knows which side his bread's buttered, actually. Thank you very much. Not like you, Spider. Where were you at the meeting?
Yeah.
You need to start pulling your weight and supporting our cause more. And Spider's like, I had something to do.
You know all the facts. You know all the facts about the crayfish. Where were you, mate?
Toyah and Spider.
I look like a right
You're obsessed with these crayfish. I started
going on about taps and crayfish going in taps. I sounded like an idiot.
You are crazy. And he's a massive cracist.
It's just utterly ridiculous, honestly. It's just so... Well done. Racist, yeah. I'm just obsessed with the idea that somebody thinks that comparing people coming to this country from another country is the same as a crayfish.
I know.
Like, you can't... I don't remember the last time I went to the hospital and my doctor was a crayfish.
Dr. Crayfish. Tell you what, they'd probably make quite good surgeons, wouldn't they, with those pincers?
Hold still,
a little snip
you might
here.
feel a bit of a pinch.
What is it's like Dr. Zoidberg, isn't that, our Futurama? Yeah. That's where they got the idea from. Okay, back on topic.
Sorry, I will shut up about crayfish.
We're in a funny mood today.
I know that we're again probably being a bit flippant about the storyline, but we've got to get through it somehow. It's depressing.
Okay, get the light with the dark.
I'm sure that everybody understands.
They better do by this point.
I already made my disclaimer last week.
Anyway, so I've lost where we are now. Toyah and Spider go back to the flat, and he's pretty stressed out by this whole situation. Toyah tells him about Maria's refugee help centre idea thing, and he's like, oh yeah, I think that's a good idea, but Griffin and his mates won't be happy with this. It's not going to be easy. And she says, well, yeah, that's the point. Of course. That shouldn't stop us doing it. You are going to help us, aren't you, Spider? And he's like, oh yeah, of course I will.
Spider should be morally opposed to the idea of this because it's wasting paper.
Or the flyering.
Printing out all these flyers everywhere.
Well, I'm sure that after the campaign is finished, he'll go around and collect up everyone and take them down to the recycling
Make a
centre.
paper mache of someone's head or something.
Yeah.
Is printing out environmental flyers, is it the same kind of idea as taking a private jet to a, like, environmental, international, political... meeting?
Yeah, they cancel each other out.
It's like, it's fine as long as you do it for good reasons. You're allowed to go on a private jet and print things off a computer.
It's just like cutting down a tree and planting another one.
No, plant two.
Yeah. Anyway. So he says, yeah, I'm going to help you. David finds Max in the lounge later and he wants to know that what are you doing there? Why aren't you at school? Why are you filming this racist meeting earlier? I've taken my eye off the ball on you, like, recently, mister, but not anymore. I'm your dad. I'm the boss. And Max is like, yeah, whatever, David. He calls him David, which I thought was great, which is exactly what what David would use with Gail when he was being disrespectful. Yeah, he's been doing it since he was Max's age, so I thought that was quite clever.
David's like,
Max do it as well.
I've taken an axe to the street, but I've never been a racist.
He goes round Griff's flat, does Max. Guys come over, thank him very much for giving them the alibi, and Reese says, well, I wouldn't be surprised if that migrant got a mate of his to beat himself up to frame them. And Max is like, yeah, of course. And then he gets out his laptop where he's got his this edit that he's made of the speech video. And so he's edited together bits of footage of Griff's speech and Roy's speech, basically to make Roy look like a massive weirdo, just going, grey squirrel, crayfish, and then Griff is looking like he's like really winning the support of the crowd, and everyone's nodding and everything. And Griff's well impressed with this. He tells Max to upload it. Max goes, click. Now it's on the internet. No doubt, as every single piece of social media that gets uploaded to the internet here in Weatherfield does, it'll be viral by the next episode. And to be fair to them, they didn't use the word viral in today's episode, did they? They said it had thousands of comments.
It's been invading social media.
So, Spider on Friday morning episode is on the Friday evening's episode. Sorry, is on the phone to his boss, and he's like, "We really, really need to just close in on Griff now and nip this in the bud and get him arrested and everything. He's beating up teenage boys in the street, and we're just allowing him to go free. This isn't right." And the boss is like, we got to keep it up. There's something bigger that's happening. You sorry, Spider, we can't back out now. So we also hear then that when Spider goes out somewhere, Nick tells Leanne that he is clearly not very happy about Spider always hanging around the flat, especially when he's stealing his grapefruit. Was it grapefruit?
Yeah, it's got to be room temperature grapefruit.
So Alia and Yasmeen are watching. Do
you know what I think of Nick? I think he's a bit of a snowflake.
Is he a woke snowflake?
Because he will only eat room temperature grapefruit.
Alia and Yasmeen over in Speeddale are watching a video of the attack. Somebody sent it to Yasmeen. So it's like it's an altered video, isn't it? So the voices are different. So you can't tell who it is because of their coloured faces. Nobody can tell who it is. Spider. Today's episode just kind of made me feel, in parts it made me feel very happy for Spider and Toyah, and then they ripped out my heart from my chest and trampled all over it. But this is a nice part. He presents her with this framed picture of them from like the 90s. Or maybe early 2000s, a nice little publicity photo of the two of them together.
He's like, I made this
frame myself. I picked up these sticks off the beach and I took it around the world because I really love you, Toyah, and I always loved you.
You really sweet. Carried this around the world with you.
Don't know what his wife thought of that. That's probably why she left him, honestly.
Yeah, and also, why have you put this bit of wood horizontal in the middle here?
It was very nice and crafty. I thought it was lovely.
Just like the sort of thing you'd have to pay £35 for in a shop in Devon.
Well, Toyah loves it, and she also says, "Oh yeah, Spider. I think maybe we should think of maybe getting a place together, moving out my sister's flat."
She's like, "I love this picture, but I need somewhere to put it.
I need a mantelpiece of my own to put this on.
Because Leanne won't have this together. She won't have anything unless it's." In a silver frame.
Yeah, it's got to be silver and blue. That's the colour scheme there. And so Toyah's like, yeah, maybe we should get actually some jobs. and then we could very easily afford somewhere to live.
Wow, she's a genius.
Yeah. So in the cafe, we also have Brian, David, and Roy watching this edited video. There, Brian's mad. David says, "Look, I've been trying to keep Max away from these guys, but I've not been having much luck. Sorry, I'm kind of out of options here." And they said, "Look, you just need to try harder. They are dangerous. Be a dad to him, David." I suppose it's easier said than done by two men who don't have children. Yeah. I know that Roy has, fostered in the past.
Also, Brian is an ex-teacher. And
yes, that's true. That's true.
He's probably had so many meetings with parents going, can you make sure they don't
parent better?
Just don't let them near each other.
But no, they're just worried for Max's safety, basically, and like for his own good, you need to get him away from Griffin's co. So Toyah goes to the bistro later, tells Leanne about their plans to move out, which is clearly mega smitten with Spider again, and Leanne's like, "Good, you deserve happiness.
Good, move out."
Yeah. You've moved on from Imran. Good for you. You've taken your wedding ring off and everything.
I thought it was really funny, and you didn't mention this, but on Friday morning, Nick, because Spider's mooching about, and then Nick says to Leanne, "Does he live with us now, or what?"
Yeah, that was a good one. Alia comes over, shows them the video, and Toyah's like, Hang on a minute. I know those beautiful blue eyes anywhere.
I know that worried expression.
Yeah, because we later find out in the episode, and I need to scroll back to some old episodes and see if this is actually a thing, but Spider's got a bit of a habit that when he's nervous, he twiddles his necklace, and that's what he's doing. He's twiddling away in this video, and Toyah's like, uh-oh. She doesn't tell Leanne or Alia what she thinks she's seen, but I would have thought that especially if I was Leanne, if Toyah had said, no, can I have a look at that again? And then she'd run off looking worried. If I was Leanne, I'd have a proper look at it and go, oh, yes, that's Spider, isn't it? My kind of brother-in-law-ish. But anyway,
I've known for 20 years.
Yeah. Anyway, Toyah rushes off. Then we don't see her again for a bit. Griff, meanwhile, is walking down the street with Spider. He says, I don't trust you, Spider. You're out of the gang. You're not in our racist gang anymore. Then two police officers come over. They want to speak to Spider.
Can I just say, Spider keeping it on the down low that he's hanging out with Griff, not going so well when he's literally walking down Coronation Street. I know we make fun of them when they go down Villains Alley or stand in Victoria Gardens and have a conversation.
He's just been flagrant.
But he's just walking down the middle of Coronation Street with Griff going, oh yeah, racism.
Can I be your friend still? So he gets hauled in by the police over clearly this attack. Although obviously, no, I can't remember.
About the attack.
Yeah, it is, but I don't remember, and I don't know how this works. But when you're an undercover officer, not all police know about it, do they?
No.
So I guess these uniformed officers that brought him in
might not
know that he's one of them. Possibly, I don't know.
Well, no, you don't tell everybody. Because one of them could be an undercover racist.
Very true.
We already had that storyline, do you remember?
Yeah, we did have that storyline.
Where's that guy?
So David...
It's his time to shine now.
David finds Max and Lauren at the bus stop later. They're just going to get on a bus to go to Griff's flat. And David's like, I'm going to come over with you to see all your new besties and have a bit of a word with them. And he won't take no for an answer. So he goes over to the flat there. They arrive at the flat. Griff and Reese are there, and their tactic is to just like welcome David with open arms and say, oh yeah, you're Max's dad, aren't you? He's a good kid, quite the film director as well. So they're trying to butter him up, but David's like, no, I'm getting straight to the point here. You are racists. You made my son film your racist meeting. What the hell's going on here? Over at the station, meanwhile, Spider is saying that he cannot take much more of this. It's getting too much for him, too heavy, too awkward between him and Toyah. I can't believe this.
I'm so disappointed in him.
The lady there is saying, well, you can't pull out now.
What do you think this was going to be? What did you think was going to happen? Was it just going to be sharing slightly dodgy memes on Twitter and making fun of people?
I think it's just because it's got a bit too close to home.
No,
when Spider signed up for this, he wasn't expecting for it to cause ructions in his love life and cause frictions between him and his neighbours.
No, I think I already said what I thought it was. It's just to make everybody realise who's not on board that he's definitely not
Definitely
racist, and he
not
definitely is
racist.
only doing this for the greater good.
Well, the woman says there's rumblings that there's something even bigger happening, which they've been talking about for a little while. Come on, let's see it. And she's able to convince him to keep going, but you do need to regain Griff's trust if he thinks you're a bit of a flake.
Well, she points out that what they've got Griff on now, because he has committed crimes, he'd get 2 years max. They don't want that. They want him to bang him up as long as possible. So they need him to commit a worse crime, which is like, as I'm watching this, I'm just like, oh.
Well, didn't Spider say something like, "What, we got to wait until he kills someone," or was that you that said that? I don't remember.
I think he did say that, but this is the icky part, isn't it, of undercover policing, where you're like, how much of this is actually down to you inciting him to do?
Well, yeah, is this entrapment?
Don't know.
I don't know.
If somebody asks you if you're a cop, you have to say yes.
Anyway, Griff tells David...
That's not true.
Griff tells David he needs to stop listening to these woke, self-righteous snowflakes.
No, Spider's like, no, you forgot to finish that scene off. Spider says, I'm going to do it.
No, I said that.
He's like, he rallies himself and he's like, I'm going to be the biggest racist there ever was.
And he's not wrong either. He does a very convincing job later in the episode. So yeah, Griff's telling David, stop listening to these woke, self-righteous snowflakes. Maybe just watch Max's video. I've got a bit of reading material. I've got some videos here. You should watch Griff's video. Come and have a chat and a drink with me. And David's like, no, actually, no, thank you very much. Max, get yourself home pronto. And Max is like, nope. Kind of drops his bag on the floor, doesn't he, to saying, I'm staying here actually, and there's nothing you can do about it. Spider gets back home later, so this is the first time that he's seen Toyah since she watched the video earlier, and she's proper peeved at him. And she's like, where have you been? What have you been doing? And he just lies and lies and lies, spewing out of his mouth.
And he's got his necklace.
Yeah, he's twiddling his necklace.
Going, oh, golly
and
gosh.
She says, I've seen the video.
Oh no.
That was you. You were there at the attack on Monday night. And he's like, no, it wasn't me. It's just a case of mistaken identity. I swear it, Toyah. And she's like, no, I know it was you. He's like, you can't throw our future away on this. And she's like, no, you're not the guy that I thought you were. Sling your hook, mate. You're dumped.
Wow.
So Spider is he's kind of reluctantly ends up leaving.
Does she dump him then, or does she dump him later?
I can't remember.
She does a double dumping.
She kind of makes it quite clear that she's that he's not in her good books at the moment. So Griff and Max go to the flat later. No, sorry, they're in the flat later, on their own later, and the video's had thousands of views, we find, by this point. When Griff gets up to go to the loo, there's this kind of awkward moment where Max spills his beer over the computer, and then he's trying to mop it up, and then he accidentally opens another video. I didn't really get that. It was a bit like, you remember earlier this year when Hope was on the computer and she kind of accidentally somehow managed to find the John State files. This reminded me of that. It was just a bit awkward. But I don't know why he needed to spill the drink. Why couldn't he have just seen a folder on the desktop and then gone into it? I don't know. Anyway,
secret file, do not look.
Yeah, what comes up is the unedited version of the attack video, so everyone's voices are unjumbled. And so I don't know who did the jumbling. Maybe he's got another. Maybe Max is more on the A, and he's got somebody from the V on the AV club, no, Max is more of the V, and he's got his A to do the audio mixing for this. But Max says, This is Reese. I recognise these people. These are your mates. What's going on? Were you involved in the attack? And Griff's like, eventually Griff says, yeah, I was there. But you know what? That Darian deserved it. He took your school place, Max. Come on, his kind are all the same. And Max kind of tries to stand up for Darian a bit, saying, he's not had an easy life. And Griff's like, whatever. Darian's not your mate. He's got no respect for people like us. These are people that steal from decent, honest folks like you and me. Do you want to be mates with someone who steals our resources and tries to steal your girl? And Max, who had been... this is where I thought he was going to say, I'm out of here. This is where he backs back down again. He's like... No, I don't want to be mates with anyone like that.
I've never heard anybody talk about resources and stealing resources and protecting resources so much since the last time I played Settlers of Catan.
What resources?
It's such a weird word to use.
What would you call it?
I don't know.
Stuff.
I was trying to think of it. Like, it just seems like such a non-specific and very kind of formal word.
These grey squirrels are over here stealing our acorns. Stealing our acorns, they are. Burying them in our ground.
Stealing our jobs.
Yeah. And anyway, Max is kind of back down again. And Griff says, you need to man up, mate. Otherwise, you're going to get trampled on. And then there's a really kind of intimidating scene where he sits down on the sofa and he goes for Max, doesn't he? Griff does. He like going, ugh. And then there's just a hug and they're like,
roughy,
yeah, let's have a laugh together. But it really looked for a second there like he was about to beat Max up and say, don't you doubt me again.
So Max has had this rush of adrenaline where he's been scared now, but then immediately Griff is comforting him and making him feel like it's okay. So is that some kind of weird... Is that set off some kind of weird brain chemistry
Probably.
in Max's head? Where
Probably
he's like, I like Griff.
Yeah. So Toyah comes into the bistro later, tells Leanne what's happened with Spider, and she's like, Leanne's kind of saying, well, are you absolutely sure? You don't want to be, Spider's good for you. You don't want to throw this all away. And Toyah does admit she's starting to have some doubts. And she looks at her phone and Spider's been bombarding her with calls and texts and everything. Leanne says, look, I reckon you should try and give him the benefit of the doubt for now. Hear him out, see what he's got to say.
Well, she's like everyone else. She's like, he's not a racist. Why would he be with a gang of men beating up a boy?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
So this is when we have the meeting between Spider and Griff in the pub. Toyah comes in.
And this is when they blimmin' announced that
this is when the Millie Gibson thing happened on BBC One, so we were somewhat distracted. And Toyah's there. Well, Spider, why have you called me here? Why are you sitting there with Griff? He's an ignorant, racist pig. And Spider is like, well, Griff just cares about the country and he wants to stand up for our way of life and stuff like that.
And our resources.
And our resources and our red squirrels. And Toyah's like, what the hell am I hearing? Spider? Well, listen to yourself.
Yeah, but have you ever actually seen a red squirrel in person? Because they've got cute little tufts on their ears. Think about that.
Yeah, what about that?
Well, if we didn't have grey squirrels everywhere, we'd all be able to enjoy red squirrels, wouldn't we?
We would.
And worst of all, and I think if Griff had raised this in the meeting, and I'm sorry for any listeners, this might offend you, the worst thing about grey squirrels is they're American. Come over here. Aren't they?
They are.
Yeah, come over here and steal our nuts.
Yeah, taking the U's out of our words like colour.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Anyway, Spider's like going, oh yeah, Griff's just trying to create a better planet for our children.
And Toyah says, like, how dare you? I don't have any children.
I am barren.
I don't care about it.
This is hate speech, says Toyah. This is racism. And Spider says, well, if that's how you feel, then we just can't be together then, I guess. And Toyah's like, damn right we can't.
Yeah.
I never knew you, did I? Not the real you, because all I see in front of me is a hateful, pathetic excuse for a human being, and I could never love anyone like that. And off she stomps. Oh, is it a kind of a soap thing when people think that she has known him kind of for 25 years on and off. Wouldn't
you just be utterly shocked and be like, what's going on?
You would. You'd be like...
Are you alright?
Because she's made the decision now that he is 100% racist. I mean,
he's
giving her very convincing proof.
I'd say, okay, well, let's go talk about it. And then I'd take him to Dr. Gallus and go, either you need to give us a carbon monoxide detector or he's got a brain tumour or something.
Yeah, because...
That's honestly, if you started saying something like that, I would
Gemma, I really love... EastEnders.
Oh my god.
And a campaign for EastEnders.
There's a tumour pressing on whatever the reasoning centre of your brain is.
Yeah, you wouldn't just say, well, we can't be together then, can you?
Well,
I'm not going to be married to an EastEnders watcher.
It's a silly soap, but she just completely... Yeah, I don't know. I think I would try to have a bit more of a discussion. Like, what do you mean? Can you explain exactly what it is that you think is happening here? Like...
I suppose she's also a little bit embarrassed that this has all come out in a public place, and she probably thinks that everyone's watching.
There's quite a lot of I have to very publicly denounce this because I don't want to be associated.
Yeah, so she's off Louise. Now anyway. I've lost where we are.
But again, I guess she's lashing out because she's so shocked.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe
it's
it
a mixture
would be
of the shock, the public.
Maybe it would be different if it was a private conversation, because you might go, hang on a minute, I'm going to make a cup of tea and then you're going to tell me what you think you're saying.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you realise what exactly is coming out of your mouth. But if it was a public place, yeah, you might be a bit more defensive and shocked. I don't know, it's just very... I guess also in a weird way, it's because of that big gap that they've had, where she suddenly realised that actually you've changed since we were last together.
It's 2003. So Max is in the cafe with Lauren later, and she's like, she swears she didn't know about the attack, and my dad being involved in everything, and Max is still trying to make sense out of it himself, and he's like, but he says, yeah, like, I can get why they might want to scare Darian, but why would they film it? We then cut later on to David chatting with Max at the kitchen table later, and he's like, what's the appeal with this Griff bloke? And Max says, well, you know, Griff treats me like an adult, which is more than you do, actually, Dad. And David says, this guy is clearly offensive, he's violent, can't you see that?
This guy has been making... Every single episode, we've got to have a warning about content because of this guy. We've never had that before.
David says... No, Max is like, you can't stop me seeing my mates, though. So every time he's kind of almost there, ready to back out, just so like we know as viewers that hope is not all lost, and Max isn't actually a racist yet, not a full-on one at least, anyway. So we get a couple more scenes of this in the episode. Now, I told you this was a long story this week. We have another alley scene with Griff and Spider. Griff is chuffed because Spider has proven beyond all reasonable doubt that he is definitely on their side. He's shown where his loyalties lie. You're back in the gang. Well done, mate. And he's kind of leaves Spider there looking a bit, oh, what have I done? What have I said? Is Toyah going to forgive me because I've been a bit of an arse tonight? Toyah, bless her, ends the episode. She gets the final scene of the week in the flat, in the dark, looking at her photo of her and Spider together, surrounded by driftwood. And then she like throws it to one side.
Yeah, she throws it.
Collapses onto collapses onto the sofa, sobbing a little heart out.
Yeah.
And so endeth the week.
And I said
Coronation
to you,
Street.
Where's Leanne and Nick? And you said, oh, probably at the bistro working.
They live at
and
the
then
bistro.
I said, well, where's little Sam? He's probably cowering in the bedroom, like, Auntie Toyah's off on one again. She killed her husband, and I think I'm next.
Maybe Sam was who Toyah threw the photo frame at. She was like, I thought she was in a room on her own there, and then Max popped his head out. It's like, Sam, sorry, yeah.
Have they ever had a scene together?
Maybe.
I kind of want him to call her Auntie Toyah.
I'm sure they must have had a small number of scenes
Are you sad,
together.
Auntie Toyah?
Shut up! I don't need... That's one thing I do not need in this story.
What?
Sam, I love him, but he's not required.
You don't need him in this story.
Even the involvement of Nick and Leanne, it's like...
I don't really like them in it, honestly.
No, I mean, I'll always support Leanne and Toyah scenes if we're going to have, these sisterly bonding scenes like we got in the bistro today. That's all good, but yeah, I don't need Nick moaning on about his stolen grapefruit or whatever. Yeah. Anyway.
I'm surprised that that Spider isn't just only eating seasonal, fresh, locally produced fruits. I don't think they grow grapefruits in Weatherfield.
What do they grow in Weatherfield?
Apples.
They grow beans in the allotment.
We've still got apples on our tree.
I know. I'm loving this. I think that,
This is a very compelling, interesting storyline. They're doing a really good job with it.
Yeah. But although I did see there was an article online, I think it was in the Mirror maybe this week, to say that it has so far received 112 complaints.
Not enough.
To Ofcom.
Get it higher.
I don't know what the nature of the complaints are exactly, because there's the warnings. Is it just the language that's here? I don't know. But yeah, it seems like it's been so long since Coronation Street's had some complaints. That's how you know they're doing a good job with their stories. They get the complaints into Ofcom about it. So fantastic. Loving it.
I want to work at Ofcom.
I was, Spider. I really thought that once Toyah had seen him in the video today, I thought that it was the truth was going to come out. I was ready. No, about him being a cop.
What?
No, I'm not stupid. I kind of, once she saw that, I was like, yeah, by the end of the episode, she's going to know that he's a policeman and it's all going to be good.
No,
because
he's got to no.
I know he's got to pretend, but I just feel I don't feel good towards Spider at the moment, and I love Spider.
No,
but
I feel better for him.
When he was saying that to Toyah today and breaking a little heart, The thing, see, I worry, is Toyah actually going to forgive him when the truth comes out? Because he has had plenty of times, in her mind, to confess the truth and say that he's a police officer. I know, and I know that, but, you know, if your significant other is keeping a secret of this size...
I wouldn't like it.
Even if he's been told, sorry, you're not allowed to tell anyone, you're right, you wouldn't like it.
Well, you know why I don't like secrets.
You don't, no, you don't. You wouldn't say, oh, of course it makes sense then. Oh, go on then, give us a snog. Would you?
Oh, you were pretending to be a racist.
That's fine then.
You were really convincing though.
But I suppose that's
I'm a bit concerned.
I suppose that's what Spider's worried about at the end of the episode. Like, great, I'm back in the gang for now. But he's thinking, how on earth am I going to convince Toyah to come back after this one? Because he does properly love her, doesn't he?
I think we really need Spider to have somebody to talk to.
Well, he's kind of got his policey mates. Yeah.
I really want him to have somebody that, I think this story is missing that. Well, somebody for Spider to go, oh, but I really love Toyah and I don't want to lose her. But we've been working on this case for 5 years. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like how invested is he? He must have done sacrificed a lot already to get to this stage. I want to know, why is he undercover police? Because originally I thought he was involved in it because he was trying to protect the integrity of
I don't think
environmental protesting.
I don't think we've had an actual an explanation about why he's a police officer, because the only people that know he's police are the lady boss, and he's got a man boss friend, hasn't he? And they don't have these conversations about why you're a policeman. So in my head, I'm just making up the reasons. Because
he's not like a mole or a grass, is he? He's not like somebody who's just in this group who's grassing on everybody.
No.
He's actually infiltrated them as a police officer. He's signed up. I don't think that you can just walk into the police academy and go, oh, can I only be one if I can be an undercover environmentalist one?
Yeah.
He must have enrolled as a police officer.
Yeah, and exactly, and that's why in tonight's episode I was hoping that we'd get that explanation. So I felt a bit.
Well, it's going to come. I have confidence that Toyah and Spider will at least come to an understanding of what is actually going on. And I think that she might. Maybe this is going to try to teach Toyah like her lesson of you have to sometimes let somebody. You have to trust somebody that what they're not telling you is for your own good sometimes.
Do you think that they can, are you foreseeing...
Not that I necessarily think that's something that everybody needs to learn, or it's even a good thing, but I'm just saying, like, maybe that's her character arc.
Do you think that at the end of this they will be together, or do you think it's going to be like her saying, you know what, Spider, I know why you did it, but I just can't be with you, and then he's going to slope off to London with his tail between his legs?
I don't know what his contract is.
It's not that. No, I don't know either.
So I don't know how long he's in it for. I don't know if he's come back for good or if he's come back for a story.
No, Martin.
So if he's come back for a story, then it's like, oh, then he probably could go off.
I love them so much together. And just this week on ITV3, we've had Spider returning to Weatherfield as well, because he comes back and forth for a little bit in the early 2000s, and he's just back now, and it all just feels so right with him and Toyah together. And they are like, one of the longest term couples on Coronation Street at the moment, aren't they? With a few gaps in between, admittedly. But they come from an era of Coronation Street when the characters who were put together really, really felt right together. Yeah. And not just, let's put Gary and Maria together. Let's put Sarah and Adam together. Why not? These feel like they were written for each other. And I do like the idea of a future on Coronation Street where they're living happily together. I hope we get it. I really, really do. And I hope that Darian can stay as well after that heart-wrenching scene on Wednesday's episode. It's like, I want him to be a long-term character. I do worry that he may end up being a bit of collateral damage in this story.
Is he going to die?
He might well do. I think that this story has got to ramp up just to show how evil Griff really is.
It needs to justify. The story needs to justify Spider's sacrifice of giving up his love for Toyah, and he needs to be like, look, Toyah, I had to do this because look what happened. You know, I couldn't let Griff walk the streets. I was responsible for bringing him to justice. I couldn't. I know that I love you, but now this has happened.
And there's got to be something big enough that Max ends up getting a reality check.
Oh, golly.
And like, oh yeah,
they are racist.
They are actually racist after that. But the thing is, he clearly knows by this point, doesn't he, Max?
No,
he's just kind of lying to himself and thinking, oh yeah, they're my mates and everything.
The realisation is not going to be, oh, they're racist. It's going to be, oh, I'm racist.
Yeah. I still think there's something to be said for the fact that this story is rushing a little bit how quickly Max has been indoctrinated by these guys. And yeah, he's kind of showing glimmers of, oh, I'm not really racist, and oh, what did you say that? But that's because they want to not completely ruin the character. But I think, yeah, by the end of it, I'm sure we'll be able to forgive Max again. I'm sure they'll write it in a decent enough way. I'm just really, really loving it. I'm so glad that this story got the lion's share of the time this week, and I haven't looked into any synopses for next week or anything, but I hope that this it features just as heavily. I think we need to move on to another story, Gemma. Double crossed, over to you.
So this is the story with Fernie and Bernie, and on Monday.
I was just going to say, ever throughout this storyline, I've been mixing, when I've been typing out the notes, Fern and Burn all the time, so it's definitely worked for me. So apologies in advance, Gemma, if I've written Burn when I should have written Fern.
Howard's round with Bernie and Dev again, and this was the bit that kind of confused me a little bit, because doesn't Howard's existence prove that Fern exists, and why does everyone still keep doubting Bernie's story?
Yeah, I liked a lot of this story for the silliness of it.
There are a few bits that didn't make any sense. Anyway.
The fact that people, like, nobody believed, apart from Dev, that Fern existed, that didn't make sense. And especially when there was the whole thing about the driving awareness course.
What was the payoff as well? What was the payoff for that nobody believing her? There wasn't one, was there, really? Was there a compelling story reason for nobody to believe her?
Well, there wasn't necessarily a payoff.
The only thing that really happened was
frustration for Bernie. Sorry,
that happened was that Gemma realised that she must not have been lying because of something that Howard said. Yeah,
it was just for the drama, really. But...
Right, so Howard's round with Bernie and Dev, and they're planning this lottery because he's going to pretend he's won the lottery to lure Fern in. And Dev thinks this whole thing is stupid, but they go ahead with it. And he poses in the bistro with these party hats because, of course, if you win, what did he say? He's won like 8 million quid. I would immediately rush out and get some paper party hats. Wouldn't you?
That looked like the least convincing lottery win party ever. It's like, we're going to celebrate now. We've not had the giant novelty check through yet.
I've got to just work with what I've got. I've only got £3.50 in my account.
Pocket. Yeah, let's do that.
What would you do then?
But we'll go to the bistro just to make it look really classy and everything.
What would you do to celebrate and rub everyone's nose in it?
I don't know. I wouldn't have a party because I don't like parties.
What would you say? Just do a declaration, I shall never have a party again.
I don't know what I would do. I'd do whatever you wanted, darling.
Aww.
I'd let you run that one.
I'd
buy the biggest, most expensive steak I could find and I'd get you to cook it for me.
Thanks. Put a photo of it on the internet and everyone thinks it's your bloody hand.
Carry on. Do you
remember?
Yes, I remember.
Back at home, Bernie's miserable because the plan's not working and Fern hasn't come out of hiding, and she thinks prison's is imminent. She's getting ready to spend her last night with Paul and Gemma, but then Howard comes around and says Fern's been in touch. They're going to meet up in Fresco's car park, and Bernie's over the moon. So, but then this was weird as well. She's sitting at the bus stop, and then a van pulls up, and a man jumps out, shoves a bag on her head, and drags her into the back of the van. And the whole time she's going, "Unhand me! You've got the wrong person. What are you doing? Why are you attacking me?" She gets driven around, and then the bloke comes out. Oh no, she starts saying, "I'm not Fern, I'm Bernie Winter." And the guy takes the bag off her head, and he's like, "Oh, I recognise you from the Dog and Gun." And apparently they're best mates. How did he not recognise her voice when he was putting a bag over her head? Anyway.
Yeah.
Dev
is... not supposed to be best mates or anything.
Well, she's now got a valuable... addition to her armoury against Fern here, because this man is mad at Fern because she owes him money.
Yes.
So Dev sees Howard and Fern have this meet up in the car park then he tells her he's won this £18 million, and she's like, oh, I didn't hear about that. What do you mean? She's obviously heard about this online, and she's only come around because she's heard about it. But she's pretending that she's, I don't know, trying to get back with him or something. I don't know. Dev's trying to take a photo, but then he drops his phone. He tries to hook it out from under the car.
See, this is all part of Monday's episode, which again, we've just felt a bit off for me. And Dev fumbling around with his phone, dropping it underneath the car. It's like, oh, really? It's not that funny. And none of this really felt right to me.
By the time that Bernie and this bloke who Fern owes money to arrive to confront Fern at the Freshcoats car park,
she's gone.
Fern's gone, and Dev hasn't had a chance to take a photo because he dropped his phone. So on Wednesday, she's getting anxious. It's the day of her trial. Dev reassures her that Dee Dee's going to help her. Everyone meets up in a cafe, and Dee Dee's like, oh, it looks like your judge is a monster, and I think you should probably drop this doppelgänger story because you're going to get in trouble and you might end up in prison. You should just plead guilty. And she's like, no, I didn't do it. I don't understand why everybody is so convinced that she is lying still.
No.
They just all treat her like she's lying. Like, even Dee Dee's like, this story's bunk.
Yeah, I don't get it. I
And
know
also,
it does sound implausible, but she's arguing it.
Well, Dev has
quite
seen
strongly.
this bloke, and also seen this woman, and also Howard's married to her. So explain that then. And also, if she did steal this money, why isn't she tried to sell it or like flashing cash or trying to help the babies out or anything?
Yeah, Dev hasn't seen Fern.
He was trying to take a photo of her.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Okay.
Howard turns up at number 5 to wish Benny luck for this afternoon, and he's like, oh no, I thought this was a victimless crime. It was only 70 grand's worth of jewellery. And Gemma's like, hang on a minute. So she confronts Howard as he's getting in his car, saying, how did you know how much this stuff was worth? And he's like, oh, I've got to go. And then his phone lights up, and it's Fern giving him a ring. And Gemma's like, oh, okay, I know what's going on here. And he's like, no, it's someone else called Fern that I know. And he's like, okay, look, I haven't been in office from the beginning, but she's convinced me to go on her side. So Gemma takes her phone, makes a call. The bloke from yesterday turns up.
I didn't write this guy's name down anywhere. I do apologise.
He's like, oh, I'm going to beat you up, Howard. And Howard's like, oh, no. And Gemma and this bloke get him to phone Fern up, tell her that he's found a buyer for the goods, and she wants to meet up later and bring it with her. So they go back to the car park. Fern gets the jewellery, but she realises it's a setup. She tries to run away. She gets boxed in, and then Officer Craigie comes out and arrests her, and everybody celebrates because the courts just text Dee Dee like, forget it then. If you've got the stuff back, we don't care who stole it. Didn't she? She looks at her phone. Basically, Dee Dee looks at her phone, brilliant. And she's just got a text message from the judge going, okay, no worries, see you later then, bye-bye. So Bernie says, thank you, Dev, for never doubting me, and they have a little kiss and a hug. On Friday, Gemma's like, sorry I didn't believe you, but it was a bit of a crackpot storyline. Why don't you come back and live with us? And so Bernie packs her stuff to leave. Dev looks really disappointed, and she gets told later on by, I think it's the twins that tell her that Dev is gutted that she's moving out. So she decides to stay, and in order to celebrate, she makes a fancy meal of burnt fish fingers and 5 different sauces. And then Bernie and Dev kiss when the twins go out for a pizza instead.
Yes. That was a very
You've written
succinctly...
that she decides to move out to say goodbye, but I think she's moving in.
I don't... I thought she was still moving out. I don't know. It doesn't matter. We'll find out next week.
Another woman... No, I'm just saying, another woman who can't cook.
Yes. I know.
Are you telling me, after all this practice, she still can't grill a fish finger?
I know. I expect especially that seems like the sort of thing that the family would live on. So how
apparently
did you...
one of the sauces was made with anchovies, but I don't believe that. I went back and I But I
Caesar
paused
dressing.
it to see if I could discern what sauces they were, and I'm pretty sure they were all just bottled.
How did you find the conclusion of this story? Because
this
is the conclusion. I put a message. I tweeted the actress who plays Fern the other day, Gabrielle, and said, "Oh, is this the last we've seen of Fern? Say it ain't so." And she's like, "Oh, your guess is as good as mine." So yeah, it seems like that is the last we've seen of her.
Yes.
How did you find it?
I thought it was a bit of silly nonsense. I thought it was kind of fun. Parts of it didn't hold up to any kind of logical scrutiny, did they?
No, not at all, really. It didn't make sense in parts.
I don't think it's one of these things that you really need to get into too much and nitpick over. I really like the concept of these two actresses who actually really do look very similar. And,
yes, but not so familiar.
No, I think they did a fantastic job of picking up each other's mannerisms when they were trying to pretend to be each other.
It was very handy that they both decided to wear the same colour clothes each day as well, didn't it? Like they were Bernie and Fern were both in blue on Wednesday's episode. I thought it was funny when Dev kind of got a look at her and Bernie, I still can't do it. Fern kind of gives him a bit of a wink, doesn't she? As she's being led away by Craig, she's just like going, "Oh, I thought
she was great.
She was kind of slinking away, and Dev was almost getting her head turned. Didn't he say like,
"Why don't you look like that?"
I don't
know.
He said,
but she's definitely got a better dress sense than Bernie.
Yeah,
I liked it. I think that what's her name? Gabrielle Glaister is very charismatic, and so is obviously.
I was disappointed that we only got a little bit of her because we've not seen much Fern at all since the actual robbery took place, have we? Because she's been in hiding. So we saw a bit of her on Monday, barely anything on Wednesday, and that was it. I wanted more. But, you know, for a story that came out of nothing, that was suggested by Jane Hazelgrove, wasn't it? He plays Bernie, after people were confusing one for the other. I thought it was, just the right side of silly.
Liked it.
Doesn't hold up to intense scrutiny, but... And usually I'm a massive nitpicker about things like that. But
well, I think you would have got into it if I hadn't stopped you. And let's be clear, we love a bit of nitpicking on this show.
We do.
But I think sometimes it's warranted and sometimes it is just nitpicking.
It was
it's
fun.
Not,
it was
not
different.
Like, I was going to say this isn't Shakespeare, but actually this is probably the most Shakespearean plot they've ever had on Coronation Street. People are always getting each other confused in Shakespeare, aren't they?
Yeah.
And also they had an arse in it too. Dev.
I forgot what I was going to say. You
I'm sorry, I interrupted you, did I?
Oh, what I was going to say. I don't know. No, it's gone. It's gone out of my head.
Are you going to do Debbie's debts?
What, are we done with that story?
Yes.
Oh,
look at the time.
Oh gosh, it's 11:30. Okay,
Debbie's... No, I'm not talking about the time. I'm looking at...
how long the podcast
It's 1 hour 47.
I did warn people at the beginning this could be a long one. But no, good story. Debbie's debts. So this was kind of nothing, wasn't it? Whereas the Max storyline was the A storyline, and then the Fern stuff was like, it came and went. It felt, even though this storyline lasted 3 days, nothing really happened.
This really lasted 3 days?
But yeah, Monday, Wednesday and Friday, this story featured, but it could have everything that happened could have just gone on in about 2 scenes. It's basically Debbie getting a call from her estate agent saying, "Yeah, you got all these other hotels of yours on the market. Well, sorry, but offers aren't exactly rolling in for them.
Nobody wants to buy a hotel now, I'm sorry to tell you."
No. What am I going to do, says Debbie. So Ronnie's suggesting that Debbie sell the Bistro later. And
I don't understand why he I mean, I understand because she's got to settle something, but she's just the only one she works at. She loves that place. Don't tell me. Debbie cannot tell me she doesn't love the Bistro. She can pretend all she likes, but she spends all of her time there.
Yeah, well, she's occasionally at Chariot Square,
she loves explaining to people what the difference between a native and invasive crayfish is when she's trying to sell them the special salad.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of this.
I don't want Debbie to sell.
Debbie is already such a tiny character in terms of storylines, of course. That's definitely all I mean. And the idea that she would be, kicked out of the Bistro, like, well, what's left for her to do? So
I don't know what she would do if she wasn't in the Bistro.
Like, literally, that's all she does, and that's so little. She had a little mini storyline over the summer, didn't she, when she was trying to get Ryan to rob it. So I'm not really supporting this. Anyway, Ronnie says, look, sell the bistro, but at least give Nick and Leanne first refusal here. Kevin finds out about his dear sister's money woes later.
Wound me up.
And he says, why don't you have some of Auntie Vi's money? Which is what brought her back to Coronation Street a few years ago. And she's like, no, this is my mess, I'll sort it.
No, stop there. Yes, thank you, I'll have it. Also, Kevin, what are you sitting on this hoard of money for like a big dragon? Buy yourself a new coat.
Well, he's got a baby to raise now.
He's got a baby to raise. He's got a new wife. He's got a son who has only got one leg. He can't think of anything to spend his money on.
He's a miser. He didn't open his purse strings as Kevin. No. Anyway, she's like, my mess, and she goes and tells Nick about selling up. You got first refusal. Seems interested, but says, well, I can't just click my fingers and have money appear. Where do you think I am?
I don't understand what you mean.
Everyone else can round here, Nick. He says, no, it's going to take me a couple of months to get that kind of cash together. I wish I could get that much cash together in a few months.
I know, if somebody said to me, what, would you like to buy this? I'd say, yeah, can you give me about 23 years to get some money together,
I'll start
please?
Saving now.
No, I'm going to wait for someone to die.
So she's like, well, no, that's not quick enough. I can give you a week.
I need
it
now.
That, I'm going to look further afield.
I only just thought of it, but I need it now.
Yeah. I don't get what the rush is, but Nick and Leanne on Wednesday are talking about it. They go to Bistro to meet with Debbie later, and Leanne says, well, yeah, we do want to buy it. We can buy it, but we can't raise the cash. We need... we're £12,000 short of what you want. Is that okay? And Debbie's like, no, mate, you're making me off. I'm not taking that.
Didn't Sainted Mummy leave Sam anything?
I don't know.
Can't he? I'll tell you what he should do.
What?
Ask Uncle Stephen for some cash.
Well, I'm wondering whether this is going to kind of tie into that story slightly, because it's certainly not as compelling enough story on its own.
Audrey's been throwing her money around left, right and centre. If I was Nick, I'd say, I'd know what I'll do. I'll organise this trip for you, Audrey, and I'll plan it and I'll sort it out. You just give me 12 grand and you'll have the best holiday you've ever had.
Anyway, Ronnie tells Debbie at the end of the episode he thinks he knows someone who can help. And they do come round, don't they? This broker.
It's a broker. Is a broker the same as an estate agent for businesses?
I don't know. But it wasn't very interesting. The main draw of these characters' interactions on Friday's episode revolves around the restorative justice story, because Sam apparently has still been banging on about that. And when all the drama of the bistro is done and dusted, and which also included Debbie trying to get Nick to sell his half of the bistro too.
Well, because she says it's going to be a much better prospect for somebody to want to buy it. If
Last
they can
time
buy
they
all
tried
of it.
that, they had Ray Crosby buy in, so they need to be very, very careful. Anyway, what happens is Leanne tells Nick that Mr. Restorative Justice has phoned them up and said, you're on. Harvey has agreed to meet up with Sam.
And I imagine, for some reason, Mr. Restorative Justice in my mind is the Monopoly man.
You're what?
I don't know why. He's just like,
hello there! Guess what? Brilliant news! We're going to bring the boy in to talk to Harvey about his mummy.
Well, we'll see.
Don't worry, we've got a nice padded cell for them to both sit in.
Presumably next week. I don't know.
why wait?
But
you know, these Coronation
thing.
Street fans have got brains like a sieve. If you leave it too long, we'll forget what's going on.
That's what
Better
happens
be
with
next
the block
week.
storytelling, isn't it? I don't know what's going on with the bistro, but I'm not happy if
Debbie better not leave, because if she leaves, I'll pull her earrings out.
I'll be mega mad.
And make her
Debbie
eat them.
leaves. You're not taking my Debbie off.
No,
of
don't take our
Coronation
Debbie.
Street. No,
she's our
thank
pocket-sized
you.
princess.
I know
We
you're
love
giving
her.
us our spider this year, but you're not having Debbie.
No.
Right, Gemma. Is it me? No, this is you. Eliza Stew acquittal.
What do you think that means?
I said it sounded slightly like Eliza Doolittle.
No.
Sorry. I don't know. I told you I couldn't think of a storyline for the title. I just realised today that I didn't have
That's fine.
one.
It doesn't matter.
What happened this week?
So it's Eliza Stu Kittle.
Yes, amazing.
Eliza
Stu
Kittle.
Somebody else tell me a storyline title.
I'm
No,
allowed
please. You got a
to
good one.
critique them, Michael.
What happened?
I just want to tell you another thing.
Mm-hmm.
I spend far longer giving you critiques on this than I actually really want to or intend to, but you always want the feedback.
I know. I bring
You're
it on
asking me.
myself. I do.
Right, Monday, in the cafe, Alia tells Dee and Adam about the pain, and Adam asks Dee to come and work for him because he's got a spare space ever since that unfortunate accident
shaped hole
where Toyah forgot which
was the accelerator,
pedal
which is
did
the
which.
brake.
She should get an automatic.
He likes the cut of her jib, he tells her.
Dee's like, oh, that's funny. I'm an unemployed lawyer, and you're a lawman with a lawman with a space for a lady of law. Mm-hmm. She's like, as long as the salary is right. Roy comes over. Did Adam write down something on a bit of paper and then push it across to her, and then she picks it up and goes, okay, yeah. Well, whatever she was earning, where does she live? Where did she live in America? Somewhere fancy.
I thought it was LA or something.
Well, whatever money she was earning there, she's not going to get like a quarter of that here, is she?
No.
Anyway, Roy comes over to speed dial later and sees that Stu's not there because he's looking for a flat. And that's a bit surprising because I thought that you two had feelings for each other, so how come he's moving out? Stu finds Dee in the pub and says, thanks again for helping me get off. Sorry, that's really childish of me. He talks about potentially moving out, but Dee can see that he doesn't really want to. So later in the pub, Dee and Co are celebrating the fact that she signed on to work for Adam, and she just drops this out of nowhere that she wants Alia to be. You're sat on the mouse, Michael.
Sorry. I just had to get up to get a cup of tea.
Now everything's disappeared.
Sorry, carry on.
No, it's disappeared again.
No, go on.
So it's gone chaotic, hasn't it?
It has gone so chaotic.
So Stu says,
New job.
no, hang on.
No, this is it.
No, she wants Alia to be her legal secretary, which is like, why?
Because
Alia
she was
said,
so good at doing the Stu story. She was she would look at paperwork for forever.
Alia spent the whole time looking at Stu's case going, well, I don't know.
Basically.
I don't know. I'm nothing.
But she
and then
carried on
immediately,
looking.
Dee comes in and goes, oh yeah, that DNA stuff needs to be sorted out.
Yeah.
Why does she want Alia, the incompetent bore?
She's not. She just doesn't give up. Very resilient.
Tenacious A.
Yes.
Okay. I have to tell you, this week I am warming to Alia, but I am worried that I'm not going to like her because one of the things that put me right off Sophie Webster was when they gave her a clipboard. And I really think that there's a lot of potential for Alia to be striding about with a clipboard, bossing people around.
I don't
even
know
more
what
than
legal
she does already.
Do. I don't know why she.
She's going to
Imran managed to cope without one.
She's going to tell Adam that he's not put the lid back on the milk, probably. Alia's like, yes, okay, no, actually, I don't want to because I work at the restaurant. And then they start talking about Stu and Yasmeen and how they both obviously like each other, but they won't say anything.
I kind of get the idea that Alia and Dee, although, boss and secretary, it'll be one of these, let's team up and be an ITV crime drama sort of thing, Alia and Dee together, and she's going to do a lot more of the investigating side of that, I don't know.
I don't think Alia is the sort of person also that takes direction or orders. The thing is about it is that she's going to be Dee's, what's the word?
Underling.
Yeah, she's not been that for the longest time because she's basically been kind of co-top dog at speed dial all this time. How is she going to adapt to working for somebody else who I think is Dee younger than her? I can't really tell. But Coronation Street is not going to examine any of this. They're just going to get on fine and we'll never see them again, probably.
No, I think they will because I'm sad to say that this little development was spoiled to me a couple of weeks ago. Did you know about it?
No.
Right, so do you remember when I sent you a picture of Alia and saying they've dressed her up like Velma from Scooby-Doo?
Right.
That was from a publicity shot of her and Dee saying, hey, look at this new dynamic crime-fighting team. And I didn't know whether you'd seen that because that was when you were away in Amsterdam. But everybody else, go and have a look at the photo. She looks like Velma in it. She's got the kind of the mauve skirt and the orange top on.
Do you think that was purposeful?
I don't think it was, but that's what it made me think of straight away, especially with the old crime fighting and everything. So I was when I did read that, I was like, oh really? I don't like the sound of that. But I think it was just because it's an Alia story. But having grown to like her a bit more this week, I really, really hope this is the making of her. I'm still somewhat ambivalent about Dee Dee. I really, really want to like her, but there isn't loads to like yet. But I'm not saying there's anything to hate either. I'm hoping this could be a sort of a new direction in a positive sense for her. So, my initial reaction was negative.
I'm on board with Dee Dee up until she said today, I think I might like cheese more than my job. And I was like, you're not supposed to like your job more than you like cheese unless you're lactose intolerant. What are you talking about? Anyway, so she's like, I don't know if I should be this when I've got a job.
I'm going to think about it until Friday's
Isn't she
episode.
part owner of Speed Dial as well?
I don't know.
Anyway, basically, at the end of the episode, Yasmeen and Stu have a discussion about the fact that she doesn't want him to move out, and she invites him to move into her room, and she says, we must have to come to the end of our platonic period, and they have a little kiss. Sweet. On Wednesday, I was like, oh, don't do that again. I don't want to see anyone kissing ever. On Wednesday, Stu's struggling. I'm not even going to deny it. I am a prude. I think we should all stand up for ourselves a bit more. We've been pushed out of society. We used to rule this goddamn country, didn't we? We sent out people.
It's that damn invading French romantics, isn't it, in the Norman invasion?
If it wasn't for prudes, America wouldn't exist. I think we should take our place again as leaders of the world.
Yes, fine.
Actually, no. I think we can go a bit. It goes a bit far sometimes in different countries. Anyway, Wednesday, Stu's struggling to prepare the house for the social worker, which I thought was very sweet. You can always tell when somebody is this is exactly the sort of person that the social worker is going to enjoy seeing when they worry about the tidying and not the fact that they're secretly an alcoholic or a drug addict. So the social worker is very happy with number 6. She says, I'm gonna recommend Eliza moves in with you. In fact, it's going to be immediate. And then she rips her face off, and it's actually Eliza. She's been her the whole time.
No, we thought at the time. We looked down. She says, yeah, you can be straight away, and then she kind of turns around like to look in her bag or something. It looks like, doesn't it? Like Eliza's been hiding in there all along.
Just imagine Eliza sitting there with her little knees up by her chin going, can I come out now, please?
Well, I'm sure that this was 100% accurate to exactly how these kind of situations work out, wasn't it? You know,
right in if you're a social worker.
Please do let us know. Yeah, just confirm our suspicions. This is exactly how it happens.
That's how it happens. Eliza arrives. Stu is full of nervous energy. Offers her a hot chocolate. Yasmeen takes her up to her room. Then you can tell she's moved in with the granddad and the granddad because they're all playing cards. For fun.
Some people do.
Eliza asks about her mum, and Stu says, she's well. In fact, we're going to go see her tomorrow. Maybe you can come as well. And Eliza gets a bit overwhelmed, and she wants to go up to her room by herself. So on Friday, they're getting ready to go to the prison, and Eliza can't decide what to wear. And Stu thinks that she's just a bit nervous about the whole experience. And she says, no, I'm not. I want to go. She goes back upstairs, and Yasmeen has to reassure Stu that he's doing a great job. Then Alia talks to Yasmeen about the fact that Dee Dee's offered her this job, and she says, I'd have to enroll at Open University and do a load of courses, and I don't know about it. And Yasmeen says, you should go for it. Seize the day. So she meets Dee Dee, who's eating cheese and drinking wine, and says, if this is what the job is, can I please join in? So they both agree that she should work for Dee Dee.
She's going to be Dee Dee's cheese and wine bringer. Going to be the sommelier, isn't she? And the fromagier. Stu brings Eliza back from the prison later on. Stu's a bit worried he's screwing things up. He keeps thinking he's putting his foot in it. Like, isn't it great to see him in prison and all this stuff? And Yasmeen's like, no, don't worry about it. And that's it, really. I'm not sure what Eliza's going to be like living here. I don't know if the fact that they're visiting Bridget means that there's going to be any more development on that. There is. There's definitely going to be more development. I'm 100% convinced that Bridget is innocent.
The thing is, if Bridget gets let out, that means Eliza's going to move out from Stu and Yasmeen, and I think that would be sad because obviously Stu really likes her. I'm not sure if Eliza feels to me like a full-term character.
I'm not sure either. I mean,
she's the wrong age to fit in with almost all the rest of the kids.
Yeah. Yeah, but that hasn't stopped,
It hasn't stopped them, but you would have thought that if they wanted her to be a long-term character, they would have thought, oh, we want her to be the same age as, you know, Joseph and Hope or something.
She's not. I mean, I can't remember how old she's supposed to be.
No, I don't know. You know, I can't tell.
Older than Hope.
You know, I can't
I'd like
tell.
to see them together in a scene. They're chalk and cheese, aren't they? Hope and Eliza. She's decent. She's a good actress.
I think Hope wouldn't like Eliza because it's competition for her murderous dad because she's got a murderous mum.
Yeah, very true. Very true. They could compare stories, couldn't they?
Yeah. No, she can't have competition.
Oh yeah, I think there is a bit of a whiff of stage school about her, but I think that she's very good, and Corrie probably should keep hold of her. But you know, we said the same thing about young Elsie this year, didn't we? And alas, I don't think she's going to come
Can't
back
believe
now.
They wasted the name Elsie on that.
I know on that.
No, on that story.
It's not. It is very nice and cute seeing Yasmeen and Stu together.
It got
with
my
Eliza.
hopes up so much.
Yasmeen is being a good grandma sort of figure. Stu's maybe getting a little bit annoying with how stressed he's getting about it, but that's kind of it, really. I'm glad that Stu and Yasmeen have finally confessed their feelings towards each other, because I keep forgetting, and I think they're together anyway, so that's good. And I was also quite pleased that I made a correct prediction last week on the podcast about him jumping into her bed to make room for Eliza. Listen again. I said it. What's that?
Applause.
What are you hitting? You got? No, I just wonder what you got. Is it
I don't know. It's a
stick
bit of
plastic that you're applauding me
I
with?
found this piece of.
It's a bit. That was a bit of coat hanger. Sorry, yeah, that was me. Any emotions or reactions or anything from you to this storyline, Gemma?
No.
Do you like Eliza?
Yeah. I don't hate her.
I was a bit disappointed we didn't get to see the scene of Stu and Eliza in the prison today.
This is what makes me wonder whether we're ever going to see Bridget again.
No, I think we will. I think
I would be more convinced if we'd seen her today.
I think we will. It'll happen.
Oh, I think you know something then.
No, I do not know. I 100% do not know what's going to happen here, but I don't think that this is it for it. Yeah, it was because the other story, particularly the racism storyline, was quite so time hogging that I guess they couldn't give a whole lot to this. So maybe it will come next week. Something that we only got to see a bit of on Monday's episode was the Book of John. So Fizz visits Tyrone at work, and they're kind of having a look to see how this book's doing now it's out, and apparently it's doing pretty well in the sales charts. And Fizz says, "Oh well, it's going to plummet soon. As long as Hope doesn't see it, everything's going to be okay." Hope, meanwhile, has become the bit of a local celebrity in her own mind at Weatherfield Comprehensive, and she's going down the corridors saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to pose for a photo for a fiver if you like." She says, I'm Hope Stapes, a daughter of John, living legend or something. I can't remember what the words are. But yeah, and then she's like, I'm going to do a book signing outside the girls' loos at lunchtime, and she walks off, and as I think they would, the older girls that she's kind of bragging to, just have a bit of an embarrassed giggle for her because they think, who does she think she is? So I think maybe they're going to be a bit mean girls to her about it. But it's after school later, and Fizz asks Nina if she can look after Hope and Sam for a minute, and so Hope is left alone with Sam in the cafe. She brings out a book, the copy that she's got. She's managed to get hold of one, and shows Sam the passage about him killing Charlotte with a hammer. And Sam's like, "What the hell?" And Hope says, "Oh yeah, well I'm a psycho too. My homicidal tendencies come from my dad." So she's clearly really hero worshipping her dad, having read this book now. Sam's like, "Oh, I don't know what to make of this."
Well, he kind of politely nods and stuff, but I don't know if he's just reacting like that's inappropriate and I'm normal and you're weird, or if he's like, this is awkward, but remember my mum was murdered. Do you
not remember that, Hope? I don't know, but and that was basically it, wasn't it? They have a meal together out later, but that was
they're trying to placate Hope, and with no idea that this girl couldn't be more thrilled. She thinks that it's almost akin to having your dad turn out to be a celebrity or a film star or something.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, I think I would have been like this as a kid as well.
Would you?
I would have loved this.
You found out that your dad was a raging psychopathic
Well, I
murderer.
don't think I would have been happy with such a close relative. But if I found out like my great granddad or my great you know, I'd be like, ooh, you better watch out. Don't know if it's genetic.
Yeah.
Isn't it kind of interesting? I mean, you know, silence for the victims and everything. But...
I am sorry as well if anyone thought that I was being a bit too uncaring about downplaying John Stape's villainy last week, because we
got a comment, didn't we?
He did do it. Yeah, Jay, I understand. He did do lots of pretty naughty things. All I'm saying is, in comparison to some of the other big baddies that have been through Coronation Street in the past, I still don't think that he's up there among the most, who would be the most notorious and juicy to write a book about. But yeah, I reckon you could fill a good few pages with the story of John Stape. So maybe I was a bit wrong with that one.
I think you need to read a few more true crime books, my friend.
I know. See, this isn't a world that I know very much about. I have a little experience in the ways of true crime.
In cold blood.
I don't like reading. So that was it for this week's Coronation Street. That wasn't as long as a street talk as I thought it could have.
It's because the racism stuff took so long to get through.
Yeah, and then we raced through the non-racism bit. Mm-hmm. So I haven't actually had a thought for myself.
And we agree, as usual, racism is bad.
Yes, I don't know what score I'm going to give this one this week.
I thought Wednesdays was really good.
Wednesdays was the best.
Fridays,
for
sure. We got too distracted by Millie Gibson. It's her fault.
Yeah, to get. But I think there was a good episode under there. But Wednesday was certainly the highlight. Wednesday felt odd.
That Mr. Blobby video was great, and now the time has passed, and I can't.
There's an awful lot of our listeners that don't know who Mr. Blobby or what Crinkly Bottom is, Gemma, I'm afraid.
Please, if you are from a different country and you don't know who Mr. Blobby is or what Crinkly Bottom is, can you please not Google it? But I want you to write me a quick note of what you think it is.
Yeah, I want to read some of these. Gemma, have you got any ideas for a score this week? I want you to score first, because I'm still thinking.
Okay, right. Well, Monday's episode, I think, was a bit disjointed and weird. I got a weird feeling from it.
I got a funny vibe from Monday.
But again, we've spoken very many times about how difficult it can be sometimes if your head's in the wrong place. It's the same as if you're like an air traffic controller.
Yeah.
You have to be completely mentally ready for your job, otherwise it's going to go wrong, isn't
Collision,
it?
Yeah.
So, I think this is a 3.5 week.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
3.5 week to me just means like it was good. It was good. It was
there
fine.
Were some factors
there were some
holding
good
it back.
bits. There's some bits I think, oh yeah, that was great. And then some other bits I didn't like.
3.5 what, Gemma? What are you
3.5 grey squirrels invading the NHS. But I think they work there, so it's fine. Wasn't that Roy's point?
I am going to give it 3.5 women who say yoo-hoo out of 5, which is a reference to Monday's episode. I think it was Fizz. I'm pretty sure it was Fizz.
She was bringing Tyrone his lunch or something.
Yeah, 3.5 women who say yoo-hoo.
And I was when she brought him his lunch, I was like, girl, that man was cheating on you like 1.5 years ago, and you're bringing him his lunch going yoo-hoo. You should be drowning him in a ditch.
And that's why I will never stray. Character of the week.
If you stray, you need to go far, far away and never stop.
Character of the week. I think I'm just going to go with Roy, just for his speech on Wednesday's episode. He didn't have a whole lot to do this week, but what he did do, he was pretty darn awesome. David Nielsen bringing it again, taking down Griff, reducing him to a blubbering mess almost. And who doesn't love a good bit of Roy telling people that they are factually incorrect? Gemma, clearly.
No, I didn't. I wasn't convinced, honestly. I thought that Griff's nonsense was so absolutely ludicrous that you didn't need to give it a point by point.
You didn't need to be Roy rebuttal. To pick holes in it.
No, I don't think you needed to know any facts about crayfish to point out that it was a false equivalence. It's not Spider. It's who could it be? I don't know. It's not David. He's been a bit of a prat, really, I think.
Tell you who we didn't see this week. It wasn't no Shona this week either, was
No,
there?
I know. No, Shona wasn't there a bit, I think.
Was she?
I think she cropped up a couple of times.
Okay.
I think I might give it to Fern because I don't know if we're going to see her again. And I really liked the character. I thought the storyline was a bit of a mess at times. And we said that already. But I really enjoyed the concept. I like the way they wove a story out of it. I think...
I just loved how she was kind of schmoozing into the police car when she was arrested.
I think that was brilliant. She turned into like a femme fatale at the end.
Yeah, she did.
Like, her motivations made no sense. I don't know what she thought she was going to do with 70 grand's worth of jewellery on the run with a felon's face. But never mind. I like the actress. I think she has a lot of charisma. I like her and Bernie together. I thought they did a great job of picking up each other's mannerisms. So I shall give it to Fernie.
Good job.